Where are you if you're a Patriot fan now? Are you looking? Are you on the side of losing games or winning games as we go out the last 4 games? This is probably the last one they have a chance at, unless the Bills tank the Week 18
No,
one.
I know, but that loss last week may mean that last game means something for seeding.
Yeah, I mean,
I see
the
it the
Steelers
opposite
are
way.
behind them. I see it the opposite way too. I see it that it's now you're not catching Kansas City, so maybe you're going to just be settled into that 2 seed.
Yeah, I think you take the rest,
Yeah.
especially with Josh Allen. I mean, he's the whole freaking operation. He's going to be MVP of the league. I'm on the side of winning, and I think when you talk about tanking in the NFL, I think part of it is just branding. Like the Patriots have said, we're just going to play the young players. I mean, that's kind of tanking. It happens in the NBA, but what they need is a little bit more proof of concept, which is what we thought they had when they beat the Bengals in Week 1. Then they lose 6 in a row. Mayo's program works, the way we run our building, the way we practice, all these different things. And now you're staring at 3-10 and possibly 3-14 going, you have 1 fewer win than you did last year, and you're getting the best quarterback play you've had in 3 years. How does this work? So the schedule is difficult moving forward. I would actually pencil that Bills game as their most likely win. It's at home. I do think Buffalo's going to rest their starters. But you need something to sell other players or your players in your own building on. This can work. It just needs more time, and the best way to do that is win.
That was kind of my thought, too, about that Bills game. And then it was either Fred or Wallach who said, does it matter? I mean, does it matter if they're resting their starters?
Yeah, they're not going to rest all 22 of them. Yeah, that's But at least they have a puncher's chance in that game. You understand? Like if Buffalo rests, 12 starters, you got and Josh Allen, you got a chance in that game.
Yeah, sure.
If you play hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then you got the Buffalo team that's got guys playing for jobs next year, and then they're trying. So you got a whole mess because you would figure Buffalo's backup's probably about as good as New England starters outside of the quarterback position.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got some holes on defense. I mean, it would have to be the Drake Maye show, which is what it's always been.
Yeah.
But I think they can do it.
All right.
By the way, you were talking about identity and what we thought it was Week 1 of the season. Well, we're entering Week 15. What is the Patriots' identity other than having Drake Maye run around and make plays?
It's a great question. I think that's exactly it. I think we have Drake Maye. He's the face of the franchise. He's the reason you should come play for us. And offensively, their best, most consistent plays have been him creating. And I will say the running game has gotten better over the last 4 weeks, but it's still about league average. And so you're living and dying with this kid. When he can deliver in the fourth quarter, you win, or get an early lead, you win. When he's throwing a pick in the last drive, well, you can't blame him because he was the only reason that you were really there in the first place.
Right. No, I don't hang much of, what's gone wrong, obviously, on him, or even like the mistakes, like you say. It's tough to blame him because the only reason why you're close in these games is because of what he's doing. Do you fear at all for the way he's playing and the way he's, taking matters into his own hands about his long-term health viability? He seems to be, tough enough when it comes to getting out of the pocket and scrambling downfield and picking up yards on his own. But if they lose that, we know this is going to be a long process. Picking up another receiver next year won't matter if he's not playing. Is he going to be able to continue to play this way and stay healthy doing it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I already put my mea culpa out there. This is what I got wrong about the Patriots column a couple weeks ago because I don't want to see Drake Maye behind the worst pass-protecting offensive line in the league.
Right.
I don't want the future of the franchise risked throwing to receivers who are running the wrong routes. Lo and behold, the kid is so good, it doesn't matter because the Patriots' pass protection is still bottom of the league. Pick any metric. They're the worst, and he's overcoming that not just with the scrambles and his quick release, but his brain to get in and out of plays that put them in better position. So I think coming off a bye, when he's rested up like everybody else, only 4 games left to go, and the last time we saw him was his best game by any measure, accuracy, anticipation, decision-making against the Colts. I think he can survive and get through this next 4-game stretch just fine.
Can I ask you something going back to last week about the Lions game? Just
Sure.
very briefly here.
Yeah.
Depart from the Patriots for a moment. The decision-making down the stretch, getting stuffed on 3rd and inches, going for it on 4th and inches. I'm assuming you were watching it live. What did you make of that?
So, zooming out really quickly, I love that the most meathead coach in the NFL is also the face of fourth down analytics in Dan Campbell. The least suspecting character you would have is the guy who is most backed by the numbers. That said, I would not have gone for it on 4th and inches. I would have just kicked the field goal. You're within like 90% accuracy range, indoors, fine condition, and I would have just taken the lead. There were like 40 seconds left. But I think the point that Dan Campbell's making is not only just sometimes, more often than not, the numbers are on his side. I think his mentality is more, I just want to kick your ass. And the more that I go for it on 4th and inches, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and I get it, the more I'm kicking your ass and the harder you feel it and the more my guys are emboldened. Now, we saw what happens when it goes the other way in the NFC Championship game, but more often than not, he's making the right decision. That's all I care about.
That offensive line is so good.
So good.
And, when what's his face is at running back, I mean, you've got a pretty good
Gibbs.
Not Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery. You have a pretty good chance of getting it. And you saw in the Jets Miami game, you kick the field goal, and then you don't kick it out of the end zone. You come back, tie the game pretty quick. So maybe he felt like he was better off having it go to overtime. I don't know what the deal was.
Can we talk about that game for a second, too? Because it wasn't even the field goal or the kick return. How about 3rd down? Rodgers throwing to Devontae Adams
and
at the sideline and goes out of bounds. They could have run that clock down to 12 seconds. And you can talk to me about the Jets roster talent. They just get a competent head coach in there and a new GM, and maybe Rodgers isn't so bad. I don't know. Last 2 weeks have been fine. I think there's a case, crazy as this sounds, and as much as Miami has been beating the Patriots when they just show up anytime they're in the same place, because of how incompetent the Jets are, and Miami doesn't scare anybody else but the Patriots could make a push for second place next year. I don't think that's insane. Watching games like that.
That's not insane at all. And the Jets roster being so great is not true. I did this exercise with my son yesterday. If you said, I got to keep guys under big contracts, who would you keep? I'd keep the Williams brothers on defense. I'd keep Garrett Wilson, and I'd keep that left tackle kid that they just drafted.
Shanu.
And that's it.
No sauce?
No.
No. He's been out on sauce ever since Kayshawn Booty beat him up the seam.
I've been on Sauce Gardner since he's not good.
Getting burned by Booty once. Out.
It's been a bad year. But
It's been a very bad year for him. He's bad. And I wouldn't pay that kid in a salary capped league like an elite corner. I'm not doing it. I'd take my chances otherwise. I'd re-sign DJ Reed, make him my number 1 corner. At least he'll tackle. And he got beat a bunch of times yesterday against Tyreek Hill. Look, the Jets didn't have Breece Hall or Sauce Gardner in that Miami game, and it's the best they played in weeks. So and Aaron Rodgers did play well in that game. I don't think he's going to play in the NFL next year, but he played well in that game.
Wallach scoffed at my second place suggestion.
I think that's very reasonable.
I just see how far this roster has to go. And I understand what you're saying. You're making good points about both teams, but I look at just a dearth of talent
do you
on
think
both
that
sides.
do you think this team at the end of November next season could be in the playoff hunt in that they're not eliminated, not in the divisional hunt, but in the playoff hunt, like a game or 2 under 500?
They got to hit on a lot of draft picks and convince a lot of people to come here during free
I don't think
agency.
so. I think that if you bring a receiver in for May, you take an edge rusher. I don't care who you take, an edge rusher or lineman. I don't care who you take in the first round, and you fill in a few of those positions. And Mayo's got another year under his belt, maybe a new defensive coordinator. I think the Jets, with a new coach in Tyrod Taylor, are probably in the wild card discussion at the end of November. Miami's probably in the wild card discussion, and I think the Patriots could be in the wild card discussion.
Yeah, you're going to end up being better than okay, you're not going to, but it's easy to convince yourself you'd end up being better than the Jets. At least it would be for me.
Or the same,
or the same as the
you're
Jets.
the same right now.
Yeah,
it's really,
exactly.
3-10.
Yeah, you're the same right now, and they're not going to have Aaron Rodgers next year. So really,
that's a good thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's how.
No, it is.
How,
It's
how,
undebatable.
Yeah,
it is.
Their record will probably improve.
It
by
was
getting
better
rid of
last year
Rodgers.
with Zach Wilson in the same rosters, so worse roster.
But I can sit here if the original question is, could you see them being second in the division? Yeah, because I can say They could be better than the Jets. It's really just about things falling into place where you're better than Miami.
That's a narrow path to walk. I mean, you look at that offensive line. Say Andrews comes back healthy and plays center, which is a big if. Say Cole Strange comes back and plays left guard and remains healthy, which I think you will agree, a gigantic if. You're telling me Verdarian Lowe is going to hold up at left tackle?
You don't think that they could be 5-7? If the Cowboys don't lose last night, they're on the fringe of the playoffs. You don't think they could be 5-7 at this time next season?
They're going to win 3 or 4 games this year. I'll have them penciled in with everyone maturing, and maybe Jalen Polk turns into something at wide receiver, and maybe they bring in a wide receiver. I got them penciled in for 6 wins next year, maybe 7. So if that's good enough to finish second in the division,
What
then
about
fine.
the year after?
Year after, I expect more. 2
I bet
years
you-
from now, if they...
I bet you they're 7-10 next year, and I bet you that they
2 years from now, I expect them to be contending for a playoff.
You got them at 7-10 already next year?
Yes, because they have a quarterback. None of you guys realize how important that is. Because you've always had one here, not you so much, Hardee's, but your team has just always been a disaster.
I disagree the quarterback's that important.
I love the idea
Touche.
of Wallach with a notebook where every team's record is just penciled in 2025. I want to know what more of those are.
Well, everyone
Patriots
thought
are
this-
6-11.
We're just talking about the division.
Everyone
I don't
thought the
have rest
Steelers
of
would be
the-
10-3.
Well,
I
here's
don't
the
have the rest of the league on
Everyone
lockdown,
thought the
but we're
Steelers
talking
would be
about the
10-3
division.
and Cincinnati would be 5-8. All right, listen, we got to go because we have to break. We have to come. Shut up, John. We have to break. You're stalling everything. We're already late. We got 2 stats and a lie.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.